Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday evening update on this Sunday, November 15th. This is, of course, the place to get all your news and views of life extension from around the world and chat with advocates and researchers who are on the ground in the labs doing the work that hopefully someday will alleviate all the suffering that comes with aging and all the diseases out there. So, it's a great show. It's a positive show, and here we are. Tonight we have a guest, wonderful guest from the State University of New York, Plattsburgh, Tobi Oni. Yeah, coming up in just a bit. I also want to remind you that, of course, on this show, not only do you get to hear from the researchers, but you get to interact as well if you like. There is a text chat. Just look at the video player here. Maybe you have to click on the text chat link, or maybe it's showing up at the bottom of your video player. But as we go along through the interview, you can ask questions, and I'll take a look at the text chat, and I'll see if there are some really good questions that I can ask our guest for tonight. And also, after the interview is over with, I'll have some news, a lot of things going on since our last show back on October 25th, and also I'll update you on an upcoming guest that will be appearing on November 29th. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce tonight's guest from the State University of New York, Plattsburgh, and that would be Tobiloba Oni. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you.
Well, yes, it's wonderful to have you here tonight, and we're going to discuss a little bit about undergraduate research. As you see from the graphic there, Tobi is a member or has been involved with SENSFI, the SENS Foundation Academic Initiative for undergrads, and he has been already been conducting a bit of research. So before we get into some of the more detailed questions, Tobi, how about a little background about yourself and how you ended up at Plattsburgh and in this type of research, life extension or biogerontology?
Oh, great. As you know, my name is Tobiloba Oni, and I came from Nigeria to SUNY Plattsburgh because my brother attended SUNY Plattsburgh, and he said it was a really good experience for him. So I decided to attend SUNY Plattsburgh, and it's been a great experience, though it's really cold out here during the winter. but you know, it's been a really great experience. I'm a junior currently, and I got involved with biogerontology when I met the director of the SENS Foundation Academic Initiative, Kelsey Moody, that's his name. You probably know him.
Yes.
I met with him, and he actually told me that there are a lot of opportunities in life extension research, and I'm someone that always wanted to, do research, and I was not sure of what kind of research I wanted to do until I met Kelsey Moody. So after meeting him, I decided to get into this. I arranged a small team of researchers. We're students, so we, do a lot of literature review, and we get into a lot of things. And currently, we're doing a research in which I'm going to get to this later, on nitric oxide and apoptosis.
Well, since you mentioned that already, how about we talk about that, the nitrous oxide and apoptosis, or perhaps I'm pronouncing that wrong. How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, you're correct. Apoptosis.
Is that okay? Okay. I'm not a biogerontology researcher, so some of the terms that I come across, I read them all the time, but I'm unsure how to pronounce them. But since you mentioned that, now this is something to do. It's a model organism that you're studying apoptosis in, and that would be green algae, correct?
Yeah, we're working with Chlamydomonas reinhardtii, which is a green algae. It's a really special organism because it has, traits of plants. Also, it also has traits of animals, too. So it combines both of them.
And what do you hope to find out in this research project with respect to the green algae and apoptosis? How will it relate to life extension, or what do you hope to find out about aging cells?
Oh, great. Currently, okay, I'm just gonna mention what apoptosis is. Apoptosis is programmed cell death,
right?
And it is really important in stuff like cancer, even in aging, because when cells begin to die and there are no cells to replace them, then you're aging. So currently, what we're doing is we're trying to characterize the roles of nitric oxide in the cell death, or let me say programmed cell death of Chlamydomonas. And something really interesting is we started out this project by just working on a few things, and what we worked on was, I was working on nitric oxide itself, and I was working with this wonderful organism, Chlamydomonas. And what I realized was whenever I use nitric oxide at certain concentration, I realized that there were cell shrinkage, and I realized some DNA fragmentation. And what I discovered from that was nitric oxide actually seems to promote certain things that resembles apoptosis. So I put together this group to investigate that. And something I thought would be interesting is during our investigation, we looked into many literature. We did a lot of literature review.
Sure.
And what we discovered actually was that, in the papers, what we discovered was nitric oxide has a really strange association with cells. As far as, it could be positive sometimes, it could be negative sometimes. Some papers describe nitric oxide as promoting cell death, and some papers describe it as actually inhibiting cell death.
Okay, so now apoptosis it could be positive or negative for lifespan. Is that true? I mean, typically in, like you mentioned, cancer. And
Yep.
when a cell malfunctions, we would hope that it would go through a programmed cell death, so that it doesn't interfere with other mechanisms going on in the body, other types of cellular pathways or other types of organ function.
Absolutely.
But then, if we are getting down to the point where you have some critical cells and there are only a few of them left, you don't want them to die. Is that the case? Or am I characterizing that a little bit in error?
Yeah, okay. You're on the track. As far as cancer is concerned, you want, of course, you want cells to be able to die if they malfunction. But something about this is that why would a cell die? Because sometimes what we realize is even when a cell is not, toxic or is not being affected with anything, sometimes due to the influence of certain chemicals, you can have apoptosis of cells that are working fine. So cells could be working fine, but then they just die because of the programmed cell death. So these are the kind of things that we're looking at through nitric oxide, and we're looking to see if maybe supplements of nitric oxide is detrimental or is actually positive to humans.
Right, because let's just think in the future here. Perhaps you find out some interesting information about nitric oxide, and then perhaps people could take it, and it would assist apoptosis in getting rid of malfunctioning cells in the body.
Yep.
That's a possible theory there, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. Now, you mentioned you have a couple other students with you that did the literature review and are working on this nitric oxide with the green algae. Are you aware of any other research going on right now within the SENS-Phi organization, or some people that you are associated with at SUNY Plattsburgh there? Any other type of biogerontology research that some of the students are looking into?
Absolutely. Actually, we had a conference last week